Hi, welcome to this video in which we will explain why Antigone by Sophocles still matters and other characteristics. Well, even though the play was written more than 2000 years ago, it continues to speak to a reality because it deals with conflicts that societies never fully resolve. For example, the tension between state law and moral or cultural law, the limits of authority, and the courage it takes to resist injustice. We continue reading Antigone today because it reveals how fragile justice is when power becomes rigid. The play forces us to ask whether obeying the law is always the same as doing what is right, which is a question that remains completely relevant in Colombia, Latin America, and the world.
Well, one of the things we enjoy most about reading Antigone was the intensity of the emotional experience, because the language is direct, is urgent, and is shared with moral tension. And even though the play is short, it feels enormous because every sense is like pushing Antigone closer to an impossible choice, right? And reading the choral odes, it was especially powerful because they show action down and made us reflect of faith, pride, and human suffering. And the play made us feel both admiration for Antigone and probably discomfort from how easily Creon justifies the violence. But that emotional contradiction is part of what makes the reading experience, unforgettable.
Now we're gonna make a little bit of a dramatic lecture of one of the Antigone's passages. Who knows? In death they might be reconciled. Death does not make an enemy a friend. Even so, I give both love, not share their hatred. Down then to hell, love there, if love you must. While I am living, no woman shall have rule. See where Ismael leaves the palace gate, in tears shed for her sister. On her brow, a cloud of breezes bottle out her son, and breaks in pain over her comeliness. You, lurking like a serpent in my house, drinking my lifeblood unawares, nor did I know that I was cherishing two friends, subverts of my throne. Come, tell me this. Do you confess you shared this burial, or will you swear you had no knowledge of it? I did it too. If she allows my claim, I share the burden of its heavy charge. No! Justice will not suffer that, for you refused and I gave you no part in it. But in your stormy voyage, I am glad to share this danger, traveling at your side. Whose was it that the god of death knows well? I love not those who love in words alone.
Antigone becomes especially relevant when we think about Colombia and indigenous community defending their cultural rights. A striking example is the case involving Guillermo Manrique Berrio, whose son died under circumstances that normally would require a forensic necropsy. However, the indigenous community opposed the procedure because their spiritual laws and mourning rituals forbid external intervention on the body. For them, manipulating the dead breaks the relationship between the living, the ancestors, and the land. Their resistance successfully prevented the necropsy, asserting their cultural and spiritual authority over their own funeral practices. This conflict mirrors Antigone's struggle, a government protocol attempting to override sacred traditions, while the community defends the higher moral law rooted in dignity, memory, and cultural identity. Antigone helps us to understand why resisting such interventions is not only political, but profoundly moral.
As for the literary mechanism of the work, first of all, the what. Antigone tells the story of a young woman who defies King Creon's law in order to bury her brother, believing that divine law is above human law. This creates a conflict between personal morality and state authority. And the main themes that we can find here are justice, civil disobedience, family loyalty, the dangers of pride, etc. Second, the how. The text follows the structure of a classical tragedy, a Greek one, with a prologue, episodes of confrontation, choral odes, a climax, and a final catastrophe. The dialogue is tense and is direct, the chorus comments on the events, and the structure builds a sense of inevitability. Finally, the why. This play creates catharsis and invites us to reflect on whether we should obey laws that go against our moral principles. It also shows how absolute power and stubbornness can destroy a leader and a whole family.
Well, now having a comparison with King Lear, we can compare Antigone with Shakespeare King Lear because both plays show how rules lose clarity when they cling to pride. For example, Creon, like Lear, gradually destroys the people they love just because they refuse to listen, right? And in both tragedies, the downfall is not caused by fate alone, but mostly by human blindness. And this parallel helps us see Antigone not just as a myth, but as a study of authority, as stubbornness, and probably also as the human cause of political power.
We invite you to read Antigone not only just as a classical text, but also like as a mirror, because it really reflects some of the challenges that we still see, that we can still face, and defending our dignity, questioning authority, and honoring the memory are some of those challenges. So this play continues to speak because we continue to confront the same moral crossroads. That's why we invite you to read it. Just read it.